What's up guys, it's Lewis here from the Lemon Frog Fitness Company and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here in my gym because I want to be going through some training things with you. In this video I'm going to teach you how to contract your abs correctly. Now a lot of people want a good pair of abs. Yet when it comes to ab training they see all these different types of videos on social media, YouTube that look cool, which they try and replicate, but when doing so they end up using too much of their hip flexors and too much of their quads. Today I'm going to break down ab training and make sure that you can get the best out of your ab exercises, even with the most simplest of exercises. The simplest exercises are the most effective, so what I'm going to be doing is go through the most underrated ones in this video, teaching you how to do them correctly and properly, helping you develop a good shaped core. Now firstly, it helps to understand the role of the abs and their insertion points. Now I know that may sound quite silly, like why do I need to know their insertion points? I just want to know how to train them. But by knowing their insertion points, we can get a greater understanding of what we need to do in order to be able to activate them correctly. So where they insert is right under the top or the bottom of the ribs here. So they insert right up into here, and then they also insert deep down into the pubis bone here. So between these 2 points is where the abs insert and they run down through here. Now, in order to be able to engage any muscle and work any muscle correctly, we have to go through a repetition of lengthening and shortening the exercise. The same thing could be said about your bicep. Your bicep inserts down here into your elbow and then also up here into your shoulder. To be able to work it correctly, we want to make sure we're getting that full range of movement all the way up to the top to this in that shortest point, and then all the way into the bottom to this in that longest point. And it's exactly the same for our abs. So we want to make sure that we're being able to unflex and then contract and flex. So the best option is starting with a fitness ball. Now what we want to do is, when we come to the fitness ball, is we're going to come down until it's in the lower part of our back. Then from here, as you can see, if I lean back, I'm getting that full stretch on my abs now. So the point between my ribs and the point between my pubis bone is fully stretched out. Then what I want to be doing is shortening it. So like the bicep curl, what we're going to aim to do is shorten it all the way up. Then what we're going to do is go back through that lengthening phase, getting a good stretch through the abs, and then shortening. Now a lot of people, when it comes to ab training, if they try and keep themselves as straight as they can, they actually can see, okay, yes, my abs are slightly flexed, but they're not fully shortened. So when we learn how to do that, we can then get a greater activation, and that's why it's important knowing where the two areas insert. Because if I'm not shortening these two distances as much as I can, so if I'm going to here, as opposed to here, then I'm not getting that full contraction through the abs. So now by knowing this, I can take my abs through that full range of movement. So what I'm going to do is place my hands across my shoulder. I'm going to keep this ball as still as I possibly can, and now I'm going to go through a series of stretching them and contracting them. So from here I'm in the stretch position. Now I'm going to shorten them as much as I can without moving the ball. Now even that one rep, I can feel my abs shaking under tension. Then I'm going to stretch back out and then contract as much as I can without that ball moving. So as you can see, I'm stretching and then contracting. Now the next important bit that people get wrong when they come to ab training is breathing. When you breathe correctly, you get a lot more contraction through the abs. So what we're looking to do is be breathing out as we contract the abs. You can do it now. So if you was to sit there and just breathe out as much as you possibly can, so get all that air out, like, I can feel my abs have completely tensed already. So if I add that to each contraction of the repetitions, I'm going to get a greater activation through the abs. So again, I'm going to come down into my position. So I'm into that stretched and lengthened position between the 2 points of insertion. I'm going to place my hands across my chest using no momentum. I'm going to contract and lengthen. Again, contract and lengthen. By adding this breathing to each exercise, I'm able to feel a better contraction through the abs. Again, so from here, we're going to breathe And that's the basic primer of starting how to activate your abs correctly. Now, I know it's not the most sexiest looking exercise, the most appealing or the coolest looking thing. I promise you're going to get much better activation through doing this, contracting the abs, rather than any fancy leg raises where you're using your hip flexors and quads too much to do the exercise. So by shortening the distance between the top ribs and the pubis bone, what we're doing is mainly activating the upper ab area. Now we are going to be contracting the entire area as they work in sync, but what we're going to do next is look at a lower ab phase. So we're working from the legs, pulling the hip up to the ribs instead. So what we want to do for this exercise is we're going to lay completely flat on the floor. What we want to do is take our hands and place them just underneath your bum. Now it's not underneath that we're sat on it, it's just coming underneath to stop us sliding forward. So next, again, going through the lengthening and contracting phases, we're now going to be working from the lower part of the body up as opposed to the upper body to the bottom. So what we want to do is come down to the floor, hands under your bum, and then from here I'm going to concentrate on flexing the lower part of my abs, bringing them up to my ribs, and then lengthening out again. So from here, I'm contracting, pulling up from here, shortening the distance, and then coming back down to gently tap the floor, and then again contracting, pushing my lower back into the floor, and then coming back down. And as you can hear in my voice, I'm shaking doing this exercise. I'm not using my hip flexors and momentum to bring the leg raises up and down. What I'm doing is contracting from the lower pubis area where it inserts at the bottom, contracting and shortening to the top. So from here, I'm taking my time, really focusing on contracting those abs and breathing out during the exercise. So again, controlling on the way down, keeping my lower back down, getting that stretch, shortening and stretching back down. Doing all this without trying to pull from my hip flexors or contract my thighs to lift my legs up again. It's all about the ab work and not any other exercise coming into play. So we're always focused on shortening those two distances, not just moving from here to here by any means. We're looking to do it under contraction through the abs and breathing out as much as we can in the process. By applying this sort of thing to all your ab exercises, you're going to get a lot better results and a lot better contraction by doing these simple tips. Once you start mastering these and you get better control of the abs under contraction, being able to lengthen and contract those 2 points, then you can start moving into the more fancier exercises. But until then, I would highly recommend just really focusing on these 2 things. Now the abs don't just work in a flexed and unflexed area. What we're also looking is at a rotational area, which is I'm going to go through with you next as one of my favorite exercises to work on that rotation through the core, along with that flexed and unflexed position. Okay, so next we're going to work on that rotational exercise. We've already worked on focusing on contracting, pulling the ribs down towards the pubis hips area, and we've worked on pulling the opposing way, so from the pubis, that hip area, up towards the ribs. Next we're going to work in that rotational plane of movement, and my favorite exercise for this is the cable wood chop. Now for this, what you want to do is set yourself up onto a cable machine, and we're going to set it up so this is roughly towards the middle of your chest height. You don't need a lot of weight for this. What you want to do is we're making sure that our hips stay perfectly straight all the time throughout this entire movement. What we don't want to be doing is twisting our hips back and forth as we do so. Otherwise that's going to prevent the core from actually working. What we're looking to do is keep that in a fixed position as we rotate side to side, making sure those obliques, so down from the side of the abdominals, are contracting and twisting us. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with our hands in this bent position, As you work your way up, we can then go out into a straight arm position. But for now, I just want you staying in this bent position. We're going to keep them shoulders back, hips facing forward, belly button nice and tight. And what we want to do is rotate around as much as we can, coming back. The hips are staying perfectly still that whole time. So as you can see, I'm not twisting my hips and legs around. Otherwise, I'm pulling from other areas than my core. What I'm actually doing is keeping those hips facing forward, core embraced, belly button in tight, and again, that breathing. So, hips are still facing forward, slowly releasing through the abs, back as far as we can. And again, rotating. And getting that contraction through those obliques, making sure we're using the rotational part of the abdominals to get us from A to B position. We're not using momentum, we're not swinging back and forth and twisting our legs and hips. What we're doing is keeping that contraction, core locked in, and then moving from A to B. And you may feel your glutes using this exercise as well, as again, what they're doing is they're activating to keep those hips facing forward. But what we're really concentrating on is contracting from this side, so the side that's moving away, breathing out to get that rotation in, and then coming back. And then what you do is you do the same exercise but facing the opposing way, so you're working both sides of the area. Now, with just using these 3 exercises to develop your abs and core area, you're going to see you're going to feel a great difference in the activation in the area and the amount of work that they're doing. If you bombard yourself with all these different fancy looking exercises, chances are you're hardly actually using your abs. And what you are doing is using your quads, your hip flexors, momentum, and anything else. So by starting with these 3 exercises, get familiar with that contraction and that lengthening phase of the abdominals, making sure we work on that rotation as well. And I promise you'll see and feel an amazing difference. Now, when it comes to abs, of course, it's massively down to diet. If you have too much body fat here, it doesn't matter how much work you do on the actual abs themselves, you're not going to be able to see them. So your diet is going to really dictate how much of your abs you can actually see. The lower body fat percentage you get yourself down to, obviously the more visible they're going to be. But that doesn't mean you can't help to develop them further and get a greater definition there. You'll just have to remove the body fat to reveal them first. Hopefully this video has been very educational for you, and I hope it becomes massively beneficial towards you in your training. I'm going to be putting other videos up just like this, so make sure you subscribe to be notified every time you do, and please like, share, comment, whatever it is you want to do just to help me boost this channel and get this information out to as much people as I possibly can. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.